Bold Beginnings series is going well. People are enjoying it. Today, Jenny and I put up our terminology episode as a two-parter because it was like an hour and I think it was like an hour and 50 minutes long. So I just kind of cut it in half. I thought it would make it easier for people to be able to find terms within them. But this morning, I was hoping to do the 15-15 rule. So let me find people's feedback on 15-15.
I'm first very curious what people have to say about that.
It's repetitive and it
is.
Yeah. So, just a number of 15 carbs, 15 minutes rule. One just says no. 15 carbs for a low is probably overkill. Not everyone treats, I've learned, with 15 carbs. We still only use 2 or 4 carbs and do a kind of watch and wait thing. So then a longer piece of feedback is the whole premise of the 15-15 rule just does not do well for most people. If we had followed that consistently, our toddler would have been consistently over 400, and we would have been having rebound highs because of these uncovered carbs. For example, 30 grams can move my child all the way up to 300 blood sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess we should go over very quickly. 15-15 rule means if you find yourself low, your doctor might tell you have 15 carbs and wait 15 minutes.
Correct.
To retest. Now, do you think that that's a pre-CGM theory?
Yes, that's where I was going to entirely. It's old.
Mm-hmm.
It's old. Like I think the term brittle diabetes is old and not a purposeful explanation at all.
Mm-hmm.
But the 15-15 really came from lack of any technology outside of a glucometer that you could actually do a finger stick to confirm symptoms and see where things were going within another 15 minutes, right? Because it is going to take some time for a finger stick value to show a difference in that era of, that kind of use of limited technology. But we have so much information now with the technology we have that rule is explained very well by these comments.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know how much it takes to bring my blood sugar up this much when I'm hovering here, or if it's a really quick, like jump over a cliff drop in blood sugar, I might need this much more. I think we also understand insulin a little bit better. At least, a lot of the podcast listeners understand insulin a little bit better and the action of it. And you can say, well, I'm in the clear of any insulin on board. This low is being driven by basal insulin only, and maybe because I got a little bit more active or busy or whatever in this time frame, I probably could get away with 3 or 4 grams of carb and even this out and be totally fine versus, again, 15 grams that you don't need.
It feels like to me, even meters, not that long ago. I mean, I don't want to sound like an old person, but not that long ago, even meters weren't all that accurate, and some still aren't actually. But I think now, what does the FDA push them towards? Is it? Do you know the percentage? Like, if your blood sugar is actually 100, the meter has to report back at least like 85 or 115 or in that range somewhere.
There's a percent. It's actually the average difference that's allowable for the FDA to approve the meters.
Right.
Each of the meters, I mean, if you're really interested, you really want the information, don't throw away the little pamphlet that comes with your test strips because it has that direct information for you. How much off could it be?
Yeah. Well, but in the past, I mean, I remember people advocating for meters to get better and better to where they are now. And I can remember in the past where people were like, my meter could be off by 20, 25% at some
Correct.
points. So with all this unknowable data happening, what is your blood sugar really? Is it falling or is it rising? You would have no idea without a CGM. So it's a safety feature from back in the day where the doctor's like, if you're low, eat 15 carbs, wait 15 minutes and test again. And if you're still low, eat another 15 carbs, right? Would be the next thing. And now hopefully, more and more people, but so I guess here's the question. If you don't have any good tech, is 15 carbs, 15 minutes still the way to go?
From a safety standpoint, yes.
Okay.
From a standpoint of even newer insulins, are more rapid acting insulins that do have a little bit more definitive time frame of action. It's a shorter time frame of action. Again, I think that there's more consideration that you can still do, even if you're just taking multiple daily injections and using a meter to check your blood sugars finger stick wise. You can still start out on the low end of treatment if you're willing to go about a little bit more testing to evaluate the need for more.
Yeah.
It will tighten your ability, or it'll tighten your range after treating. You're not necessarily going to always need 15 grams, even if you're blind with no CGM data, let's say.
Right.
In fact, I would say that many people could probably do well with 5 to 8 grams of carb. And not get into trouble with excessively high blood sugars. Again, that's outside of exorbitant insulin on board and that kind of thing. But right. Outside of that, I still think 15 is an overshoot, but it's a safe enough overshoot that it's definitely going to raise your blood sugar.
So I want to kind of bring a couple of different thoughts in here. So first of all, if you're listening to this because you are more newly diagnosed, it's important to know that carbs will hit you at different speeds. So, taking 15 grams of a baked potato for a low blood sugar is not going to be a good idea, right? You need fast acting, easy to absorb, simple sugars, things like that. You also have to be aware that if you have, let's say you have enough insulin working where you're low, falling, and you're going to need 30 carbs to stop it. But you take 10 of a simple sugar, it could look to you, even on a CGM, like the insulin's just running through the sugar. The sugar's not even slowing it down. It is slowing it a little bit, but it might not be enough. So the speed, it's where understanding glycemic impact and load a little bit helps with stopping low blood sugars. You can't eat a baked potato is going to take forever for your body to absorb, which is why the emergency gel, for instance, gets rubbed on the inside of your cheeks, right? Gets absorbed very, very quickly. I know this is like a scary time for people, so you're newly diagnosed, you're falling. Here's how this goes. You do the 15 carbs, 15 minutes. Eventually you're happy because, I stopped the low blood sugar. And then you start seeing the next step and thinking, but my blood sugar is 220 now afterwards. I don't want to stop a 70 and make it a 220. And by the way, some people are treating low blood sugars and they're calling them low when they're first diagnosed at 110. They're like, oh no, I'm getting low,
Right.
And so then they see the next piece of it. And you're trying to make sense now of how do I stop this low blood sugar without creating a high one? I would even say to you, I would jump past that idea and say, how do I get into a world where I'm not stopping low blood sugars all the time?
Correct.
Yeah. So,
right. And that's what we focus on even in education. We first look for lows or percent of time lows. Are they frequent? Are they at a consistent time of day? Is there a trend to them, for example? And if there is, we go to meet those first. Most people who want tighter control, they're actually much more worried about the highs than they are about the lows. But if we can take away a good number of the lows that are occurring in a pattern, we can also take away a lot of the highs, because it's hard to not overtreat, especially I think in the beginning when you're really learning about things and trying to judge how your body is, I guess, reacting to stuff. And also how your brain is able to overcome the low and the symptoms and being able to tell yourself, well, I don't need that 15 grams. I feel these low symptoms. They're horrible. I'm only going to treat with this much, right?
It ends up being that understanding the bump and nudge ideas from the Pro Tip series will help you understand this in simple terms. If you're standing on the sideline of a football field, you're out of bounds and somebody's inbounds and they're just wandering out of bounds, you might just put your hand up and stop them without pushing them. But if they're running out of bounds, you're going to have to shove them to keep them in
Correct.
bounds. And so if your blood sugar is, and this is where having a CGM becomes really valuable, if your blood sugar is 65, but it's super stable at 65. A few carbs, and there's no active insulin, a few carbs might move you up to 90, no trouble. If
Right.
there's active insulin or if the 65 is falling, then you'll need more carbs to counterbalance that. But in general, the blanket statement 15 carbs, 15 minutes is either going to lead you to a life of bouncing blood sugars and not understanding what's going on, or it's going to lead you to the idea of like, hey, I think there's more here for me to understand.
Right.
Just running through people's statements again. The 15-15 plan can be too many carbs for lows. 15 carbs was way too much for me. Overtreating lows was a big problem in my management. You don't need 15 carbs for a low is something I wish someone would have told me. I mean, you might, but it's not a hard and fast rule.
Right.
And then this person says that the 15-15 rule was drilled into us. And so early on, to combat minor lows, they're just doing it over and over and over again. They're seeing what's happening, but they can't in their mind make the leap that they shouldn't be doing it or they should be adjusting it somehow because of how fervently
it was
drilled into
recommended.
Their head. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So.
And again, I think it's the biggest takeaway right now is if you're using any kind of technology, I guess CGM specific, or if you're just really, really on top of doing finger stick after finger stick, because that's what you're choosing to do, then you've got enough information and enough accurate information to be able to say, in the past couple of weeks, I've done the 15-15 rule. It's created this roller coaster up and down that I no longer want. What if I just treat with 10 instead of 15?
Right.
What if I treat with 8 instead of 15? Right. I mean, there's some navigation that eventually you're going to learn how to do your own self-experimentation. You're going to say, well, this is what I'm going to have to do because it's clearly not working with 15.
Right. And you are going to hear people say to you constantly, like, diabetes is a science experiment and you're going to figure it out, etc. That's all they mean. They mean trial and error. Don't do the same things over and over and over again. Once you see something and it proves itself out, trust it and do something different.
Correct.
Okay. So there you go. The 15-15 rule, which is not really a rule. It just gets says to people so many times that people are like, it's a thing.